Hey guys, I'm Joe. This is Wilhite Works, and it's time for a big announcement. Who is the most famous knife designer that I know? If you said Zeke Menacho, then you'd be right. So it's my pleasure to introduce the Menacho build. This is his Hellion buoy. This is mine. This is Louise. Put a T-Rex on it. It's got a whole story. Uh, I'm gonna make a build for him. This is a great knife, and he wants a custom sheath for it. I'm gonna roll in some footage now of what I plan to do for it. Let's go. Should be a great time. I'm gonna take you with me. For part two of the Hellion sheath build, Zeke's personal build, I'm actually a little further along than I let on. And so all I've got is pictures for that. And so this is the second part of the build, and I hope you enjoy it. We'll catch you on the next one. Okay guys, today we're back on the Menacho build. I've taken this, glued in the button stud, and here is the back. And as you can see, I've made a pattern for where the knife needs to run, as well as a pattern for where the welts are going to lay in. Like that. Here, let's try and do a little bit of job of showing you that. So something like that. The reason for doing all that is because the next step is going to be to glue on the back. So once the back is on, I can no longer see my lines to glue in the welts. However, I do not want to glue in welts and then glue in the liner only in the middle. Because what that does is that sets you up for this to separate here. So when you would put the knife in, it would come apart. And I don't ever want that to happen. I want this to be sandwiched in there where it can never separate. So in order to do that, we're going to do it in this order. So this is next. Then we're going to figure out where, once this is all shaped up again, we're going to figure out where this needs to go. And then we'll glue the welts in. And here we go. All right, so for the gluing in front to back, I've got some gloves on. We're going to use this EcoFlow leather weld, leather adhesive. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of it on the back, layer it on the front, and then I'm going to sandwich it together, and I'm going to put a couple of books on it. And so I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay, here are the two pieces glued together. I'm going to actually put a couple of books on them. But as you can see, the back is wider than the front all the way around. That's exactly what I wanted to have happen. So now I can grind that down to the edge. Okay, at this phase of the build, I've got the back and the liner cut and stained. I've got the front and the liner glued together. And then I've got the pattern with the leather welt, which is not glued in. Take a look here. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to cut out this center section so that I can lay the knife in there, because I don't know exactly where it's going to go at this moment. Once I get that done, I'm going to grind away I'm going to grind away the extra that's around the border so I know exactly what I'm working with. And then I'm going to get the lines drawn in, and I'm going to get this welt glued in. And so what we'll wind up with is a completely fitting front side of the sheath. Let's see if I can do that a little bit better. Okay, something like that. And what I want you to notice, this is very much intentional, this clear space here. That way, when this knife comes straight in and out, it does not cut its way through, it doesn't cut its way free. Anyway, I'll show you that better once I have it cut and laid in. So I'm out here in the shop, and let's get this in frame, there it is. And I've cut that to size, and now I'm gonna trim off everything around the edges. And I'm gonna take this 36 grit belt off of there. We're gonna use an old worn out belt. And the reason I'm gonna use a worn out belt is because I don't want it to cut too quickly. And I don't want it to cut too roughly. Nice and slow. here's the edge. And you can see I've got some loose bits that need to be cleaned up just a little bit there. And all the way around looking pretty good so far. But again, there's that lip that's created. So I need to go clean that up. So let's do that now. And now, let's see if you can see that. Okay, you can tell there's a little bit off on some of the edges. So I'm gonna take this and do this by hand now with 400 grit sandpaper. I'm just gonna ease that into the exact shape that I want it to be in. Got a little edge that's folding over there. That's okay. We'll fix that in a little bit. One of the things I've learned to do is to make the sheath a good bit bigger than what I think I'll need, because inevitably, to straighten everything up, you wind up taking off more than you mean to. Let's clean this up a little bit. Okay, that's good enough for now. We'll go in and do the next step inside. All right, guys, so check it out. This now fits very nicely right there. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work out where the welt is supposed to go. You curious, baby? Okay. All right, so now we're gonna put that back in there like that. And I'm going to work out exactly where I want all this to sit. And I cannot do that while holding the camera, so be back in a minute. All right, so check it out. There's the line. Notice how much tighter it is here than it is over here. That's by design, because visually I wanted it to slope in like this, because the knife does that. So now we'll double check it. So here is the knife laid out on the sheath, on the front face. And what I'm looking at is whenever I pull it straight out, well, I gotta lift it a little bit. Does that line stay free? Right there. I think so. I'm gonna do it off camera. Okay, and so there it is. That is gonna work out just perfectly. And then we'll check that again once the welt's laid in there. Okay guys, check it out. So I've gone in here and I have sanded with a block of sandpaper all this area that the welt is gonna sit in. And I've stained the welt. So here's that. And so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna glue this up. One of the things I have done is I have taped this all down on the backside. The reason for that is whenever I put the clamps on there, I don't want it crushing into the leather, as well as I don't want glue on it. So just in case I have a run or a spill, I've got some protection there. So, and the next thing you're gonna see, I probably can't do it and film it, but I'll show you the result, is I'll have this all glued in, or at least half of it glued in. I'm gonna do this half first, because I want this, I wanna be very specific about where this point hits the blade right there. Okay, I'll show you in a minute. Okay, this is what it looks like before I glue it together. Okay, now check it out. That lays in perfectly, because I can still see the little black line right there, which is exactly what I wanted, just a little bit of clearance so that it rides along. I wanted it to have a point of contact there, which it does, and a point of contact there, which it does. I wanted this to be clear in between. So far we're looking good. Now let's check the placement of the other line. If I get that exactly right along that line, you can just see it. We should be good to go. Now, the other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna check. If I take this straight out, am I gonna clear all of this down? Well, I can't show you. Am I gonna clear all of this down here? So let's go back in. Let's do that again. So with the knife perfectly seated, we're checking our fitment for the withdrawal. And if it ever gets past that line, we've got a problem, but we don't. It's perfect. And so then on the way back in, as long as the knife stays straight, boom, we are locked in. We are good to go. I love it. So it's been about 10 minutes. I took this off. Let's take a look at it. It's well adhered, and that's because of all this scratched area that just, it binds so quickly. Got some overlap on the leather. That is okay. I expected it. I've accounted for it. Now we're gonna trim this piece up and fit the next half on. All right, take a look. I've got this welt glued in. It's looking perfect. And check this out. So I've got the line drawn, and when this is seated, it's gonna be great. So now this one will lay in just like this. Should get a perfect amount of overlap. We'll make sure that the glue touches there. And check it out. I'll be able to lay that right in on the line. Okay, here we go. All right, so take a look here. With the knife, whenever the spine is straight against there, check it out. It goes in perfectly. There's plenty of clearance. So I've got plenty of room there. Got a little imperfection there. I'll sand that out. And plenty of room. So the knife sits right in up against that. There's really not much play in it at all. There's a little bit of play at the back if you really wanted to be a little bit there, but that should be perfect. And check this out when it comes out. Plenty of room. All right, really happy with that. So now we're just gonna let this cure for a little while. Okay, when it's all said and done, here's where we're at. I'm gonna let this glue dry overnight and really set up. I'm gonna leave it resting like this on its back. Let's flip it over and take a look at it. So everything has got a cure. That's not quite where I want it, but we'll get there. But the rest of it's great. And so let's do a fit check with the knife. So running along straight on the spine. And perfect. Everything is got just a little bit of clearance there. Let's see how it looks on the other side. So there we have it. It's seated well. It's got all the room it needs. I'm very happy with where this is at. We'll just let that dry overnight. Okay guys, here's a video I did not want to make, but we're gonna make it. So you can see where this is all glued in. And unfortunately, you see that little bit of play right there? This, if I pull this back, I glued on the wrong side of the line. I thought I had it just a few millimeters tighter. It's not. And so what happens is whenever this is seated, there is this much play. You see that? You see how that wiggles in there? I'll put my fingernail on that and move that. So it's got that much play. I can't stand it. I can't do it. So there are three options. Option one, cut the welt out at least to right here. Maybe trim this just a hair and pull that up and re-glue it. Option one. Option two, put a piece of welt inside of here to bridge that gap. Gross. Option three, take this and trim this lower so the knife sits further and then touches where it needs to. I do not have the room to do that. So I don't know where this ends. This is one of those moments. Total frustration, but we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it the correct way, or we're going to start over again. So we're going to cut this up and get back on that line where we're supposed to be. That way, whenever this knife goes in there, it fits perfectly. All right, here we go. Okay, here's that in-between moment. I've got the knife down inside there. I'm going to show you how much tolerance I've got on that. So you can see, let's see if we can get in on that. Anyway. Yep, you can see the 2 layers there. I'm splitting it successfully. I think this is gonna work. I've got the knife through there. I gotta free this up gently, but we're doing it. If I can get it freed to about right here, we're home free. Okay, great success. Look at this. So I got that free right there, all the way up. Hold on. Okay, so I got it free all the way to this point right here. So that will allow me, and look, I didn't cut into any of the extra leather. I'm really happy about that. I was able to truly separate it. So now what I'll do is I'll go back in. I'm going to trim this up just a hair, bring this over to right here, and you see where it'll land on that line just like that. And as long as everything goes well, it should be a perfect fit. I'm going to try and look at this now. Good. Look at that. So I've actually got it overlapping just a hair, and that's what I want. I want for that to actually be touching. I'm going to try and get this a little bit tighter right in here too. I'm going to mess with that a little bit and see what I can do. I may free that up just a little bit more. I may actually free it back to here. Okay, look at this. Here we go. So if I get that moved up this far, you see that one? You see that line right there? So if I move that to there, all of a sudden the rest of this works out. It's touching. And there shouldn't be any play left. All right, come back in a minute. Okay, so here we are again. Front's all taped up. Got this open. Now we're gonna tape that, or we're gonna glue that together. All right, guys, here's what I did not do last time. While the glue was still wet, I did not check to make sure that it fits perfectly. So now, look at that. Come on. That right there, that's the perfect fitment I'm looking for. Maybe I can adjust that right there. I'll work on that. All right. Let's check the whole thing one more time. Look at that. So that's right there. That's going to have just a little bit of play. That's normal right there. And then the front end, it doesn't wiggle at all. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted this to be completely flush. You can see there is essentially no space. 1 millimeter. That's okay because it's touching there. All right. All right, for the next part, I've got a brushed brass, kind of an antique look for the leg strap. I'm gonna go with a 1-inch strap. And so what I've got back here is going to be the holder for it. So I'm gonna basically run this about 2 inches or so. So I've got 1 inch to sew, and then I'll put that on the back. All right, so at this point, this has been corrected and it's still drying, still curing. I'll let that cure probably another 24 hours, and then I'll sand this down. The fit on it's perfect now. I'm so happy with that. Now the next part is the back. So this is not the liner, this is the actual back. Here's the liner. All right. So what I need to do now is, before I can put the liner on it, I've got to put the straps that will hold the leg strap on. So something like that. And both of these are already cut, shaved down. So I'm going to glue them on, stitch them on, and then I can glue the liner in And then we're ready to sandwich the two pieces together. All right, here's the current state. This is glued up. All this is done perfectly. So on the front, I'm going to sand that down to the proper height and then get it ready to glue on the back. That happens later after I belt sand all this down. So we're going to belt sand this, true up the height, and then we got to deal with the back. So let's talk about the back. I've got 2 retention straps for the main leg strap. That is now stitched together, stitched on there. I don't know exactly where the borders are going to be, so I pulled it back from the edges just a little bit. Now then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to get all this just absolutely coated in glue, and then I'm going to put the liner on top of it, press it down. So let's go do it. Well, there it is. I have never used this many clamps before, but that's what it took. Basically, I had the leather rolled at 2 different angles and I could not make the contact work. So I got out all the clamps I have and started going for it. All right, so now here's the front. And here is the inner liner of the back. Here's the back. If you notice, well, maybe you can't see it from here. Let's fix this. All the layers get wider, so no matter where I sandwich it, clamp it down, I'll be able to shave down to a perfect edge the whole way around on all of it. And that's what we will do tomorrow. Okay, so here's a little update video. Sorry about the lighting, just showing you a couple little pieces I had out here. This is where I'm at with the build so far. The front's done. I've given it plenty of time to dry. And so everything is now glued in there very well. So I'm gonna grind this, make that true to the front again. The back is glued to the liner is glued to the back. I put the straps on for the leg lace. I put the straps on for the leg strap. And once this is true, then I'll glue it to this, and then we'll true up this to the front. At that point, then I'll cut out the little area for the handle to sit, and then I'll get in the lacing lines and figure out where the back is going to go. Okay, so for today's video, we're gonna grind on this. This is the Menacho Hellion build, and you can see the edges. And what I've done is on purpose made it larger than the front. In the past, I've done it where I try to do it exactly the same size. I can never get it to work out, and eventually what I do is I cut the front so small that I wind up having to struggle with the lacing. So it's important to me that I did not do that this time. So it's larger on purpose by design. And right now we're going to true up all these edges. So here we go. This old belt, I got too much material to remove. I'm going to take this off and put a newer, a fresher one on there. And then once I get it down to size, then I'll put that one back on it. show you one of the things that happens with this technique. You can see where as it's cutting, it's putting a little bit. Let's see if I get the camera to focus. See how it's throwing off that layer on either side. I'm gonna have to go in and cut that off a little bit too. Got that front edge on both of those. The rest of it is pretty well round shape for the most part. I'll show you this side. See that right there? Go do the front. Let's take a look here. So there it is, all on the front. All right, so here we go. So as you can see here, everything is nice and basically burnished all to the edges, or rather ground down all to the edges. And what you'll see is like right here, where it looks funny, it's because it is a little funny. Let's see if I can see it. So it's got that little flap of material right there. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in and edge bevel this just real gently. Hold on, I'll be right back. So here's the tool. And it just cuts a little piece off the edge. So I'm going to go do that and then show you how much cleaner this looks. Well, I was over here doing it, and I realized I should be showing it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this tool. Make sure you're in frame. Okay. And I'm basically just going in at 45 degrees, cutting off this little flap of extra material here. And what that does is that cleans up all the lines. Now let's do it at the top. And and I've already done it on this interior, so I'm not going to do it there again. Now, one thing that you have to do is you have to get this nice and clean, which it's not. So watch how much this cleans this up. First of all, I'm just going to rip some of it off to get it started. Let's do it from this side. So we're going to take and cut that off. And see how that just frees that up to come off there. And then we're going to come in like this. Now, look how nice and fresh that looks. Let's see if we can see it. Yeah, see how nice and clean that is? Let's do it to this corner so you can see it. Love hearing those birds. And I love hearing the kids too. So I will go in and wipe all this out, clean this up. I'm not going to leave that, but look how nice and, let's see, there we go. Nice and established all the lines are all the way throughout. Hopefully the camera's picking this up like I think it is. Okay, so one of the things that I insist upon with my sheaths is that they look like the knife. So what I mean by that is they're overall the same shape, especially out here at the tip, they're the same contour. A lot of people blunt this off. You don't have to. And I feel like when you do, it makes it less aesthetic. The knife has a sharp looking tip. I want it to look sharp like that. So if you notice, I have all this extra welt. So the next step, I need to actually go in and measure this and make sure this is not too thick, because I need to take this all down a little bit, and then we'll be gluing the front to the back after I clean this up. But yeah, we've got all that extra. I could grind that all the way back to whatever the pattern would tolerate, but I don't want to, because then I'd be into the pattern. I wouldn't have room to lace it. I just look at this extra material as extra insurance in case you ever drop this thing. It's not going to cut through. It's just there. But it helps me get the aesthetic right. And that's what I really like about my sheaths. So, okay, let's move on to the next part. And yeah, just in case you're wondering, it's a nasty mess doing this. I'm covered in sand. I mean sawdust. I mean leather dust. Okay, so I'm back inside, and you can see that all the edges are looking great. They're nice and trued up. It's not perfect yet, but this is not the stage where it needs to be perfect. But we're really close. All right, you can see I washed all that out. That looks fine. Now, what's gonna happen next is I'm going to actually take a look at this with you guys. Hold on. One of the things that it's hard to convey is absolutely how thick this leather is on the inside. So this knife is 3/16 of an inch. And so, oh yeah, let's check out the fit and finish one more time, or the fit on that. So look at that. In the front edge here, there's just no wiggle. It wiggles just a little bit right back through here, and that is fine, but there's no wiggle on the front. That is the fit that I wanted. And if you remember, I had to go back in and change that, press fit that. But so now, back to the leather, the welt specifically. The welt on this leather is saddle grade leather, and it is like 12, 14 ounces. You almost can't even buy this stuff without buying like a whole side of the cow. So let's see if I can show you how close we are to the same width as the knife. Let me push that down in there. So you can tell we're just a millimeter or two wider than the knife. Let's look at it from the other side. Because over here it'll look a lot different because this is the thin edge. However, once this is sitting straight in there, check it out. It'll be very close. So as far as actually thinning this piece of leather out, I don't really need to thin it at all. What I am going to do is I am going to sand it so that it's roughed up so that it can accept the glue for the next stage. And let me show you something about that. So here is the back side. Okay, these had to go on first so that it could get glued in, because there was no way that I wanted lacing in here to be either cut or rub on the knife. That is the reason for doing that in this order, is because now this is completely protected and the knife is protected from it. Now, what's interesting about that? I've made this much wider than the front. And so now what I have to do is I have to pay attention to where this is going to land with regard to this layer right back here, the inner liner. So if I bring this down close to that and make sure that it's touching on all sides as we go around, see, I'm a little bit too tight right there. No, actually, that's fine. So something like that, as long as I don't get it to where it's glued over the edge and then there's a gap. Well, I can't seem to show you, but you get the idea. So then what the consideration is, where do you want the leg straps to be in relation to the top? So I really want it to not be much below this point. The shoulder of the knife here, maybe down around here is the most I want it to be. So let's take a look at that. That's about as far down as I can get that to go, where everything still fits. When that is there like that, there's your shoulder, there's that just a little bit lower, that's fine. I'm happy with that. So that's what I'm gonna do. When I go to glue this front to the back, I'm gonna try and bring this down as low as I can on here. That way I've got overlap of the liner, but the leg strap's not too low. All right, one other thing. I haven't talked about this, and so you guys probably haven't been able to see it. Let's take a look at the shape of the knife. So with the shape of the knife, it's hard to do a sheath for this knife because all of this area right here has to be free, all this back here. And that's why the welt is shaped the way it is, so that it can slide in and out. When you do that, it tends to look like my personal sheath does here, nice and straight. I wanted to do something different for Zeke's personal sheath. I wanted it to flare out in the same way that the blade flares out. And so that's what I've done. I'm not sure I can really show you on camera, but if you notice, it gets wider here, and then it gets more narrow as we go to the top. The other thing that visually helps to create this look is that from here, from this shoulder, it dips down in this direction and it dips down in this direction. So we're canted both this way and this way in both planes. So this has a cant this way, this has a cant this way, and this way. So it's just a little detail that I haven't talked about that I figured I ought to point out. And in case anyone's wondering, to get from concept to this point, I'm already 25 hours into this because it takes a long time to tool the leather. It took me, 3 to 4 hours to draw it, to revise it. So that's why you don't see more sheaths, because it just takes a long time. And that's why I won't make a sheath for everybody. But anyway, I do it for the art. I love what I do. And as long as it's fun, I'm going to keep doing it. All right, guys. Thank you. All right, so for the next part, we're going to take the two pieces, the front and the back, and put them together, but we need to do something first. So I've made a little pattern here that goes inside the welt area. And I'm going to show you why that's important in just a moment, but I want to point out something. I've had a little bit of a miss here. And so the way I'm going to fix that is I'm going to lay this piece in here and I'm just going to tape it and make sure that it gives me a continuous pattern. I'll show you that in just a moment. So now that this thing fits perfectly, we're going to take it out of there. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay this over here and we're going to figure out exactly where it needs to go. Here's why that's important, because now I've got this laid out like this. And you can see where I've put a line across here. That centers this up the best it possibly can be. And so now what I will do is I'm able to center this. And at this point, I can draw a line all around it, which will do. And what that's going to give me is where my welt will be. And then I'm going to sand this so that I have good connection for the glue. So here you can see where I've got a rough approximation of where the welt will be, how much is going to get sanded off, and now it's time to rough everything in. All right, so here's the last bit of prep before we start gluing these two together. As you can see, everything is well sanded all along the welt, and essentially everywhere that the welt should glue to is roughed up so that it can adhere and bond well. One of the things I want to show you is that I always tape it off because I've spent so much time on the artwork that it would be a shame to ruin it at this last stage. I've also done the same on the back. And so here we go. So that took me about 3 or 4 minutes. And honestly, the glue is probably starting to set in some places. I'm gonna leave that for about half an hour and then come take it out. All right, guys, it's been half an hour or so. We're gonna take this out. We're gonna see how we did. Preliminarily, it looks pretty good. You can see that I did follow the line pretty well. And I think I've got the line for the outside done well the whole way around. Let's take this apart and see. Okay, it looks really good. I've got great contact all the way through. I think I got it lined up really well the whole way around. So I would call that a major success. So what we're gonna do now is let this cure overnight. All this will clear out. You won't be able to see the white globs anymore. And then we grind the back to the front. And that way we have one piece. Then we'll cut this in. And at that point, we're ready to start the lacing grooves. And that, guys, is the home stretch. It's dried for a couple of days now. And so now I'm going to take it out to the garage and grind it down. You can see how there's no gaps and how this is bigger at the back. And so I'm not going to record this next part. I'm just going to go grind it to where it's all the same profile all the way down. Okay guys, check it out. It's all ground down. It's exactly to the right profile, and if I do say so myself, this thing looks amazing. There's no gaps in it anywhere. And it is by far the best work I've ever done. You can see the apex of that point right there. Let's show you this. Just look how good that edge looks. And it's not just one edge. It's every single edge. This is just the rough layout. Fantastic. Okay guys, check this out. I've put the liner for all the lacing and run the roller wheel all throughout. You can see I started to have a little bubble here. I think that will disappear once I drill it and lace it. And same thing all the way around, nice and clean. No rolls out. Let's see. Let's go through it so you can really see it. This right here looks like I missed. I didn't. That is the plan where I'm going to place the Chicago screw. There's another one there. There's another one there. And the other one is, let's see, right there. I don't know if I can show them that well. Anyway, where there's a little extra right there, that's the plan on that one, and it matches the other one on the other side. See it over there and over there? Okay. Also, I sanded this down. I corrected a few little things as I was sanding. Let's see if we can't show you a better view of that. So at this point, this has been on the 36 grit belt sander, and then 120 by hand, 150 by hand, 240 by hand, and 400 by hand. And so it's very nearly where it's going to be. The rest of what happens with the sanding will be just refining the edges and making it perfectly glassy smooth. In addition, I did the lacing, the stitching groove, the lacing groove, and then the stitching wheel all throughout this, all the way on the back. So a lot of work has gone into it since the last time that you saw it, and I didn't film it. Sorry about that. But I'm really proud of where this is at. And I've decided that I do not like this color. I like this color. It's the same color. It's just a layer deeper. So after I drill all the lacing holes, I'm going to restain this while I'm staining the edges. I have not decided whether or not to leave the front two tones. I kind of like it. We'll find out. You guys will get to see whenever I do too. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but we'll figure that out. All right, be back in a minute. All right, so out here we're going to start the drill press process. Basically what I'm going to do, let's see if I can show you, is I'm going to go through each one of these little areas and drill down into it. And I'm only going to go half the depth. There's my finger right there. I'm going to go to about the middle welt. What I'm going to do is make sure that all my alignment front to back is correct before I punch all the way through, and then once I've got it through, I will size that up bigger. But as you can tell, this part's tedious as well, and it's going to take a lot of time. This is where a actual dedicated leather sewing machine would be so handy. All right, so there it is. Everything is drilled out. And here it is on the back. I haven't drilled it yet. But if you notice, where was I? Up here. I've got a couple that punch through because I drilled a little too far, but if you notice, they hit the holes. That's why you measure everything. Measure it twice. All right, let's do the back. Also, I put the paper up there so that it protects the front face from mars and blemishes. Something you wouldn't think about, the button stud is now on top of the face of that. See that? So now I've had to shim up the other side with some leather so that I'm punching straight holes. Okay, here it is. Come on, focus. There we go. Everything is all nicely drilled. Nothing's cut out. And now you'd think that we're done with this part, but we're not. I've actually been out here for about 30 or 40 minutes working on these two lines in the front and the back. The next part's the hard part. It's the part that takes the most dedication. I'm going to take this and by hand fit each hole front to back, make sure that it's actually in alignment like I think it is. And then what I'm going to do is once I've got it punched through the welt to where they line up, I'm going to bring it back out here to the to the drill press and punch it with a bigger size, one that makes it a little bit easier to lace. And then the lacing begins. So yeah, there's a lot more work, a lot more than most people realize, but the results are worth it. I think this thing's going to be incredible. Okay, out in the garage again. You can see the light passes through on a lot of these. Those are the good holes. A lot of these, though, don't go all the way through, and so I've got to connect the two now. I actually thought I'd already done it, but when I went to check it, a lot of them are not connected. So round two, same drill bit, same size. Okay, so everything's looking pretty good from the front. From the back, there's some problems though. Had some spots that cut out, so what I've done is I've gone and 45'd off the lacing lines, and you can see where I've got some double cutouts. And what I got to do now is go back in and punch one solid big hole, and we'll see where we're at after that. All right, guys, here it is all corrected. Let's see if you can see through there. Yep. And as I go through, you should be able to see light through just about every one of those holes. They're all connected. I've checked them all. And the back is the tougher part. So there's the back. You can see where I've had to widen the lacing line a little bit. And there's a couple of holes that don't belong there because they're extra. I almost didn't show you guys this because whenever I'm done with it, you won't be able to tell. But I will show you how I'll correct that too. So what I've done though is I punched the larger diameter all the way through there, and then cut the lacing line deeper. And what I'll do is I'll go back and roll the wheel through it, and it'll compress some of those holes, kind of close them up. And when I'm all said and done, I will actually glue all this down, and all that will go away. You won't even see it, but I'll show you that. All right, thank you. And I forgot to tell you, I've been out here working on this particular part, getting the back to the front all connected, for another hour. So there we go. Okay, here it is. It's all laced up. Check it out. I've got these in here, and if you notice, this has got some antiquing on it. I'm going to antique these as well. This is one of those moments where I wish I'd had my camera on. I laced this thing for about 6 hours by hand, and the camera wasn't rolling, so unfortunately, guys, y'all don't get any of that footage. You can see, I'm going to show you right here, the spots where I had some cutouts, but I've got it all corrected back down into the stitching line, and so I'm really coming in tight to show you that. And then everything was really true up here and worked really well. The backs for these are not long enough, but I've got some others. And I've actually got a way to make these disappear. Let's show you from another angle. So you can see where I had some cutout that I showed you, and I'm going to make that less noticeable. But I'll tell you, whenever you look at it from, a decent amount of distance, you can't see it at all. Also, I restained the back, and I really like this color much better. I stained the sides as well, but that didn't accept it as much, so we're going to make these black.
And now I'm going to go get some neat spit oil and take away all this streaking that's in there. Okay, that's a piece of lamb's wool that's got neat spit oil on it. So this is really good for blending. I'm going to show you that now. Basically, this is streaky. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in here and work it through. We're going to take out all the streaks. We're going to blend it. It'll probably darken the lacing just a little bit, and that's okay. I like that too. What we're looking for is a nice, smooth, even finish on this. And that is about all it's going to take. Now, I'm going to grab a paper towel and take up some of the excess. I'm just going to work that in a circular motion, try and get that nice and smooth. And we'll flip it over and do it again. Okay, that looks great. We're gonna let that have a few minutes to settle out. Okay, so this is now all stained up black on the sides here, and that should burnish out really nicely. And I don't know if I'm going to show you or not, but I had a spill and I got a couple little stains there that weren't originally there. That's just part of it now. I couldn't clear them out. So anyway, I'm going to show you how to make all these look more smooth. So we're going to put some glue in each of these little lacing lines now. Okay, for this next part, I'm going to put a drop of glue on each and every single one of these places where it's laced. Okay, now that the glue is in there, I'm going to roll it into the pattern. What I'm trying to do is really work it down into each one. Now, it's got a little gummy, and now I'm going to take care of that. Okay, so I got the wheel cleaned up. Now we're going to clean this up just a little bit. Just slightly damp. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this back in here again. Now it doesn't look great like that, but what it's going to do is it's going to dry translucent, and then we're going to stain it and seal it again. So while that's working, we'll do the other side. Okay, now that I've allowed this to dry, and you see how nice and neat and clean all that looks? That's really locked in there. I have now cut this, and I wasn't actually filming it, and I realized I needed to be. So now I am actually hand sanding that to true that up, because you can see that it actually protrudes a little bit more in the back than it does in the front. So I'm gonna fix that. All right, a couple of last steps on this thing. I'm going to stain the back here now that all the glue is dry, and then one more application of neatsfoot foot oil. We're gonna stain this part. This is not a perfect fit yet, but that is okay. This is the same bottle of walnut pro dye that we used for all of it. Be really careful here. So each time I go into the bottle, I'm gonna make sure that the dauber is wrung out pretty well, because I don't need much. Okay, now we're gonna get some right in there. All right, that's it for that step. Now we're gonna go back with some neatsfoot foot oil, just a little bit, and blend it all together. Now we are going to let that sit and not touch anything for about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, so everything is dry, and you can see now how nicely that looks. All that's covered up. And maybe if you were looking for it real closely, you might could see it, but I don't even see it. And so now the moment of truth. Let's take Louise and see if she fits this new sheath. All right, that is perfect. Now, check it out. You see the gap visually there at the front? That is because I know that's not low enough in the back. So that's going to be fixed. That's not a problem. And when this is all said and done, that'll be locked in perfectly. We'll have the rest of that trued up there. And I'm gonna call that a big win. Check this out. It is all done. The main body is all finished. And look at the exact fit that I got on that. The thing is perfect. Front and back, both perfect. Now, when I go to move it, there is no wiggle, zero. It's actually the best fit I've probably ever had. Now, the next portion is gonna be the back. I'm gonna make a removable back. And so I started it with paper. This is the idea. This will hold, this whole entire thing will be detachable. This will hold a D-ring, and this will go over the front to snap onto the button stud. And what'll happen is this can be removed in case he wants to wear it through like his belt. So let's take a look at this. Here it is. I'm still kind of in the preliminary stages with it, but check it out. So everything is made in some form or fashion except for this strap here, which will go over and snap onto the front. I will actually get all this made and sized and stained, and then I will show you, and then I'll show you final assembly. So the last time I showed you this pattern here, and I showed you this when it wasn't stained, so I've gone a long way and done a lot of work that I did not show you. Let me bring you up to speed. On the back, I've got these 4 holes. Those will fit to right here. This is the spacer to keep it from rubbing on the knife whenever the D-ring loop is down. This is a little bit too large. This is a rivet. I'm sorry, this is a Chicago screw and it needs a rivet. And I've also got 2 snaps. Well, I can't do it one-handed, but I've got 2 snaps, and so the D-ring is all set up. Now, on the back, I've got these flush mounted flat screws here that basically make this to where this is not going to mark the back side of this up. There will be some marking, but it's not as bad as it would be. So now let me show you what I've done. I've got the leg strap cut, ready for stain. I've got this, which is the retainer strap. So it's gonna go on the back here, something like this. See if I can get the hole lined up. Anyway, something like that. Go over the top and retain onto the button stud right there, so that no matter what you're doing, sitting, standing, walking, running, the knife is retained. Now, one other thing I'm going to show you. I had to take the hardware for this and cut it down because it was too big. So I've got 2 of those, and they're cut so that whenever this is going through here, it will not be any higher than these guys. So let me get this stained and I will show you that in a moment. Okay, the next part after this is all stained up is to do some edge treatment on it. Let's see if I can focus better. So see how this is nicely dark. I've got it black on one side and really dark brown on the other. And over here, I'm gonna give this some edge treatment too. What I'm gonna be using is EcoFlow gum at Tragacanth. And so I can't really do this one-handed, but here's the idea. I got some on my finger. I go around the edge and get it kind of wet. I take this tool and burnish it. I'll do that now. So look at all the edges here. Let's see if we can get that to focus. Okay, there we go. See how that's all nicely slicked over? All right, ready for some final assembly. That's it, guys. It's all done. Look at this thing. It's incredible. In the back, I've got this nice dangler with the buttons. And if you want to take this off to do maintenance on it, this will come off here as a button as well. And then let's go to the back. Back, you can see that this thing will pivot as much as a human leg will pivot, so there will be no impediment to motion. This is removable, this is removable, this is removable, so if anything ever happens, it can be repaired and maintained. And then of course this is just a loop through the leg, a leg strap looped through these straps, and so you can remove it as well and replace it, make it different size. But I can tell you guys without a doubt, oh yeah, also I burnished all the edges to 5000 grit again. Without a doubt, this is the finest piece of work I've ever put together. And by the time you're seeing this, I will have delivered it to Zeke himself at Blade Show in Atlanta. And hopefully we'll catch some pictures of that. Thanks for joining me on this journey, guys. It's been a real pleasure, and We'll see you on the next one. Y'all take care. Bye. Hey guys, welcome to Wilhite Works. I'm Joe. Check this out. This is a custom build for Zeke Menacho himself. It's Friday afternoon and I'm off to Blade Show. I'm going to hand deliver this to him on Saturday and I'll show you his reaction. Y'all take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Hey guys, this is Wilhite Works and we're here at Blade Show Atlanta. You know him, you love him, Mr. Zeke Menacho himself, the man. Hey guys, and I'm so proud to be here. I've got something special for him and I wanted to catch his reaction.
It's in a black bag, so it's got to be good.
It's got to be good, sir.
Oh my gosh. Joseph, that is absolutely beautiful, man.
Thank you, brother.
Look at all that scroll work. Look at this.
Wow.
That is just absolutely cool. I got to see if this thing, I got to see.
Sideways.
Sideways?
A little bit sideways, yep.
There we go.
Yeah.
Look at this. Man, that is so cool, Joseph.
Thank you, sir. I
Man.
appreciate it. Hey, a knife this good deserves the best.
Man, thank you. I really appreciate that. This thing is
Thank
just
you.
absolutely beautiful, man. Just from the brass, the scroll work, the floral on it, the logo. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome, sir.
Yep.
You're welcome.
But this guy is surprising me today, but guess what? He's got a Nomad Camp 12.
Oh, brother, that's so amazing.
Listen, it's always a knife for a knife in this game. It's always a knife for a knife. You always gotta give what you receive, guys.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
that.
Yeah,
For
thank
sure.
you.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hey guys, welcome to Wilhite Works. I'm Joe. This is my custom sheath that I just made for Zeke Menacho himself. This is for his Hellion buoy, and this is probably my finest piece of work ever. Check out the detail on that. The level of fit and finish is just beyond anything I've ever achieved. And so every time I finish a build, I tell you about Jesus. This is that video. Here we go. Today's reading is going to be from the book of Psalms, chapter 19, verses 1 through 14. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day, they pour forth speech. Night after night, they reveal knowledge. They have no speech. They use no words. No sound is heard from them, yet their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. In the heavens, God has pitched a tent for the sun. It is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, like a champion rejoicing to run his course. It rises at the end of the heavens and makes its circuit to the other. Nothing is deprived of its warmth. The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The decrees of the Lord are firm. All of them are righteous. They are more precious than gold, than much pure gold. They are sweeter than honey from the honeycomb. By them your servant is warned. In keeping them there is great reward. But who can discern their own errors? Forgive my hidden faults. Keep your servant also from willful sins. May they not rule over me. Then I will be blameless, innocent of great transgression. May these words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Guys, just like on that sheath, the beauty of nature was what I was trying to bring into it with all the scroll work and the vines and with the suggestion of naturally occurring elements. Look around you. This earth is God's precious creation, but he loves us more. There is no other way to be right with God except through Christ. Won't you turn to Christ today and repent of your sins? He's waiting for you. I love you all. I'll see you on the next one.